Everyone tells you go to Santorini or Mykonos. But if you want the real Greece, the history, the romance, and the secrets, then you need to drive west. We found a secret path carved into the cliffs that leads to one of the most incredible hidden spots in the country. But to get here, we first have to cross a canal that shouldn't exist and visit a theater that defies the laws of physics. This is the ultimate guide to Nafplio and the Peloponnese. Let's hit the road. Our journey starts at Athens airport. We picked up our rental car and headed straight for the Peloponnese. It's late November, but look at this. Blue skies and 24 degrees Celsius. The perfect driving weather. Our first stop is about an hour from Athens, and it is non-negotiable. You have to stop at the Corinth or Corinthos Canal. This isn't just a river. It's a man-made cut through solid rock that separates the Peloponnese Peninsula from mainland Greece. Effectively, once we cross this, we are on island. The history here is insane. The Roman Emperor Nero actually tried to dig this canal himself with a golden pickaxe in 67 AD. But the technology wasn't there yet. It wasn't actually finished until 1893. We visited the small museum right next to the bridge. It's a great pit stop to see old photos of the construction and understand just how important this trade route was for ancient Greece. The walls are 90 meters high, but the canal is only roughly 21 meters wide. It's incredibly narrow. Interesting fact, there is a bungee jumping platform. People actually dive into this gorge. Leaving Corinth, the landscape changes. It gets greener, more mountainous. We are heading to the Sanctuary of Asklepios at Epidaurus. It's a bit of a detour, but you cannot drive to Nafplio without seeing this. Quick tip, in the winter season, entrance fees drop significantly. We paid €6 to get in. In the summer, it can be double that. From the canal, it's roughly 1 hour to one of Greece's most extraordinary sights. Welcome to the ancient theater of Epidaurus, tucked into rolling hills, and just a mere 40 minutes before Nafplio. Most people treat Epidaurus as a quick photo stop. Big mistake. Once inside, the site opens up slowly. There are ruins scattered across a peaceful valley, surrounded by pine-covered hills and fresh mountain air. Honestly, the €6 we paid is probably one of the best value archaeological tickets in Greece. It already feels special, and then you see it. The theater dates back to the 4th century BC and seats around 14,000 spectators. But numbers don't explain why this place is legendary. The acoustics here are so precise that a whisper, or the sound of a coin dropping, can be heard from the very top row. No microphones, no technology, just mathematical perfection and brilliant design. We started climbing the stone steps slowly, row by row. The higher you go, the more the view opens up. The stage below, the perfect curve of the seats, and the mountains rising quietly behind the theater. From the top, it's breathtaking. You don't just see history, but you also feel it. After the climb, we walked over to the on-site archaeological museum, and this is another part many visitors rush through. Inside, you'll find medical instruments used in ancient healing rituals, inscriptions left by patients thanking the gods for their recovery, and sculptures and artifacts explaining how this entire complex functioned as a healing center. Suddenly, the ruins outside make sense. This wasn't just a theater. I believe that it was part of a much larger system, focused on mind, body, and spirit. What makes Epidaurus unforgettable isn't just how old it is, but how well preserved and peaceful it feels. Even today, performances are still held here during the Epidaurus festival, more than 2,000 years later. Now here's the part most visitors completely miss. Just beyond the main paths lie the ruins of the Katagogion, the ancient guest house of Epidaurus. This massive structure once accommodated hundreds of patients and pilgrims who came for healing. Think long halls, multiple rooms, and courtyards. They were designed to house people during their treatment rituals. As we approached Nafplio, the Greek weather threw us a curveball. The temperature plummeted from 24 degrees down to a chilly 12, and the heavens opened up. This wasn't the cinematic arrival we imagined. We were famished. We checked into our hotel, dropped our bags, and went straight out in search of food. No sightseeing, no detours. inside an authentic Greek taverna. With rain tapping against the windows, we finally slowed down. Hot dishes arrived, steam rising, and my wife was finally smiling again. Outside, the rain began to ease. By the time we finished lunch, the rain had turned into a drizzle. Let's head to the port. So guys, welcome to Nafplio. This isn't just a pretty town. It was actually the first capital of modern Greece before Athens took the title. It's located on the Argalic Gulf and has a population of about 15,000. It feels intimate, historic, and incredibly walkable. The port felt calm, almost paused in time. Fishing boats rocked gently. Nafplio sits along the Argalic Gulf in northeastern Peloponnese, and its location tells you everything about its past. This was a strategic harbor, highly contested, fortified, and deeply important for centuries. Venetians, Ottomans, and Greeks all left their mark here. Out in the water, almost perfectly centered in the bay, sits Bourtzi Fortress. It's a small stone stronghold floating like a postcard. We'll head there later by boat, but even from here, it's impossible to ignore. Nafplio was once the first capital of modern Greece. Later on, when we visit the old town, you can feel that pride in the architecture, the layout, and the way the city carries itself. Leaving the port behind, we stepped into the old town of Nafplio. This is the Church of the Virgin Mary, located just behind the Archaeological Museum. Many tourists walk past it because the exterior is quite simple, but it hides one of the most important stories in the city: the martyrdom of the patron saint and a stunning interior. Legend says this is where Saint Anastasios, the patron saint of Nafplio, was tortured by the Ottoman Turks in 1655. From a church, we continued our walk. The streets were narrow, and the stone alleys glistened from the rain. Nafplio is often cited as one of the most beautiful and romantic cities in Greece. It holds a unique place in history as the first capital of the modern Greek state. Its skyline is a physical timeline of the many empires that fought for control of its strategic harbor. According to legend, the city was founded by Nafplio, the son of Poseidon and Amymone. His son, Palamedes, was a hero of the Trojan War. Archaeological finds show the area has been inhabited since the Stone Age. For centuries, Nafplio was the center of conflict between the Ottoman Empire and Venice. It was the Venetians who built the Peloponnese fortress. Last week, we brought you to tour the Peloponnese fortress, and if you have missed that episode, the link is up here and down below in the video description. We are heading towards a Nafplio lighthouse and a surrounding stone jetty form one of the most scenic coastal stretches in the city. This area serves as the western tip of the Nafplio port and acts as a tranquil transition between the bustling harbor and the wilder coastline. The lighthouse is situated at the end of a long, paved seawall that extends from a main promenade. Nafplio played a starring role in the birth of modern Greece, and there are at least 3 key historical landmarks to know. First is the Peloponnese fortress, famed for its 999 steps, and offering the best panoramic views of the Argolic Gulf. Next is the Bourtzi fortress, which is the photogenic island castle that has served as a defense post, a prison, and even a residence for executioners. Then there is the Syntagma Square, which is the heart of the old town. Last week, we already brought you to Peloponnese Fortress. And stick around, because we will also visit the other 2 landmarks. Near the Nafplio Lighthouse, there is a legendary coastal walk that circles the Arvanitia Peninsula. This route is a favorite for its dramatic limestone cliffs on one side and the deep blue Argolic Gulf on the other. We'll take a walk there in a while, and we will bring you to the famous photo point that everyone needs to know about. But before that, let us visit the old town and bring you to Syntagma Square. We stepped off the port promenade and into the old town's mosaic stone alleys. The streets twist like ribbons. Narrow at first, lined with cafes, gelaterias, and pastel buildings with wooden shutters. And this is the Syntagma Square. This is where the city breathes. Cafe tables line the edges. Locals sip freddo cappuccino well into the afternoon. And groups gather to soak up the history of buildings that watch Greece become a modern state. As of early 2026, the average property price in Nafplio was about €2,700 per square meter, with the old town often at the higher end, and quieter neighborhoods a bit lower. A 1-bedroom apartment in the city center rents for about €500 to €750 per month, with slightly cheaper options further out. Here, walking is the norm. Locals rarely need a car for daily life because the old town and port are super walkable. Small boutiques sell handmade leather sandals, ceramics, local olive oil, and artisan perfumes. locals walk dogs, tourists snap photos, and overhead, strings of lights crisscross the street like festive confetti. My wife stopped to browse some of the shops. Actually, she stopped at almost every shop she came across. Nafplio feels lived in. It's not polished like Mykonos, but it's authentically Greek. It is elegant, yet intimate. We could definitely live here. 600 euros for a small apartment, for 100 more for groceries, and maybe another 300 for utilities and internet. We could probably live here on a monthly budget of 2,000 euros, give or take. This landmark is the St. George Cathedral. Inside, you can see impressive frescoes and a depiction of the Last Supper that is modeled after Leonardo da Vinci's famous composition. Nafplio is like a boutique city feel, with historic charm, but modern amenities. And unlike many postcard towns, this place isn't just for tourists. Apartments sit above shops. Laundry hangs from balconies. Life continues upstairs while visitors wander below. Now, follow me closely. We are heading past the land gate. This used to be the only way into the city from the land, towards the Arvanitia's promenade. Everything beyond the gate was controlled, guarded, defended. If you were entering Nafplio centuries ago, this was your checkpoint. Next to us is the steep climb, and the path leading toward Peloponnese fortress, looming high above. This staircase will bring you to Arvanitia's beach, so follow us closely, as we're going to show you a secret path. Once you're at the beach, follow this path heading towards the rocks. Continue along this path and up these few steps that will bring you directly onto the rocks. From here, it looks like this is the end of the road, but just keep walking. Follow my wife. And at the far end, tucked on the right side, you will come across these broken steps. If you climb up here, you will find the hidden staircase that leads to a rough path, cutting right into the cliffside. It feels like a treasure hunt. This is the kind of path that makes you stop breathing for a second. Rocks jut out along the coastline, and the sea crashes below. Follow the trail. There are small staircases carved directly into the stone, winding up and down, leading to little alcoves and tiny viewpoints. We felt that we were treasure hunting, and each turn revealing something new. And then, you find it. A tunnel-like cave path, hugged by rock walls on one side and open sea on the other. Sunlight filters through in streaks, casting dramatic shadows. This is the secret Instagram spot of Nafplio. Most visitors never even know it exists. The path continues past the cave, gradually leading toward the Panagiotia Church, perched with panoramic views of the port and the bay. From here, you can watch boats glide across the water, the fortress in the distance, and the old town stretching along the hillside. It's a perfect mix of adventure, history, and quiet reflection. The path eventually loops back toward the port, and just in time, because we were about to board a boat for one of Nafplio's most iconic landmarks, the Bourtzi Fortress. We have time for one last adventure before the sun went down. We're going to that castle floating in the middle of the harbor. The boat ride is short, maybe 10 to 15 minutes, and you get this amazing perspective of Nafplio from the water. The Bourtzi was built by the Venetians in 1473 to stop pirates and invaders. It's shaped like an irregular hexagon to fit the rock island it sits on. Here's a dark fact for you. For a long time, the executioners of Peloponnese prison had to live out here, on this island, because the people of Nafplio didn't want them living in the town. Talk about a lonely commute. You'll need to buy a separate ticket to enter the fortress once you arrive. Simple, affordable, and absolutely worth it. The fortress itself is compact but layered. We took our time here. We walked through each chamber, reading the inscriptions on the walls, and imagining life when this island was both feared and respected. Every room tells a different chapter of Nafplio's story. This fortress in the middle of the sea served as a defensive stronghold, a residence for executioners, a prison, and today, a museum and cultural monument. Then comes the climb, as the sun started to dip lower in the sky. This is the cue for us to climb to the highest part of the fortress. At the top, the views open up completely. The sea turns glassy. The town reflects warm tones. As the sun drops lower, everything turns gold. Nafplio, the port, the mountains, even the boats drifting below us. There's one last set of steps to climb, and bathed in the light. It feels like something straight out of a cartoon I used to watch as a kid. The mysterious cities of gold. If you know, you know. A lone fortress rising from the sea. An adventurous sailor like Mendoza. Two kids, Zia and Esteban, searching for lost cities, legends, and gold. The sun dips lower, painting Nafplio in gold and amber tones. Boats move slowly below us. The port glows. Peloponnese watches from the hills, and the sea reflects it all back like a mirror. If you had to choose, sunset from a hilltop fortress or sunset from the middle of the sea, as daylight fades, our captain returns to pick us up. The ride back feels calmer, quieter. Nafplio is now glowing under evening lights, and the town feels intimate, like it's welcoming us back. By now, the day trippers were gone. The streets were softly lit. This is when Nafplio slows down, and when it's at its best. We walk back through the narrow alleys, stone paths still slightly damp from the earlier rain, warm lights spilling out from behind wooden doors. It felt intimate. Tonight, we've booked dinner at 360 Grill, a small, modern spot tucked into the old town. Stylish but relaxed. Not touristy. The kind of place locals actually enjoy. Inside, it's cozy and warm. Exactly what you want after a long day of walking, climbing, boating, and chasing sunsets. The menu leans modern Greek. Done well. No overthinking. Just solid flavors, good portions, and that comforting feeling of ending the day on a high note. And honestly, this feels like the perfect full circle. If there's one thing Nafplio teaches you, it's this. You don't need to rush. You don't need big crowds. And you definitely don't need peak season to feel magic. Nafplio is compact, walkable, layered with history, and best experienced slowly, especially in the off-season. This is not a checklist destination. This is a linger destination. And with that, this Nafplio chapter comes to an end. If you enjoyed this journey, give this video a like. It really helps the channel. Drop a comment and tell us which moment was your favorite. And subscribe to World with Wife for more high-quality, story-driven travel guides. Because the best places deserve to be experienced properly.